Congratulations, you just signed a 5-year sentence of voluntary servitude. But hey, at least the finance manager handed you a free keychain as a souvenir. And that unmistakable new car smell is doing a great job masking the scent of your growing financial anxiety. Humans are fascinating creatures. We are the only species capable of sabotaging our own future by paying twice the value of a machine on wheels just to convince neighbors, people we probably barely even talk to, that we're doing well in life. Before I show you, with painfully simple math, why the owner of that shiny $65,000 SUV in your apartment complex is probably the most financially stressed person on the block, let's make a deal. Do not skip this. If you're ready to protect your mind from the aggressive marketing traps of car dealerships, like this video, subscribe to Money Mindset, and comment below with the state you're watching from. And before we continue, type this absolute truth in the comments as armor against the social pressure you're about to face. My ego does not finance my future. The American middle class is suffering from a serious financial disease where success is measured by the model year parked in the driveway. We've been conditioned to believe that a brand new car isn't just transportation from point A to point B, but a certificate of social approval printed in steel and leather. It is by far the most expensive and inefficient status symbol ever invented. If you buy a luxury watch, it might at least retain part of its value. But a car? A car is a machine specifically engineered by the gods of depreciation to destroy your wealth at lightning speed. Think about the math behind the 30-second wealth destroyer. You walk into a dealership, choose a $65,000 SUV, sign the paperwork, and proudly drive out through those giant glass doors. The moment your tires touch the street, that vehicle instantly loses around 20% of its value. You just burned roughly $13,000 simply by driving around the block. That may very well be the most expensive Uber ride of your entire life. Thomas Stanley, author of The Millionaire Next Door, spent decades studying the habits of truly wealthy Americans. What he discovered is something the automotive industry desperately tries to hide. Most real millionaires, people with actual assets and investments, not just high credit limits, do not drive luxury cars fresh off the lot. They drive reliable, older, fully paid-off vehicles. Real wealth is quiet. It's the struggling middle class that empties its cash flow trying to scream, "Look, I made it!" To understand the depth of this financial trap, let's talk about Michael. Michael is a project coordinator who believes his job title requires him to drive a $58,000 SUV. Since he doesn't actually have the money, and let's be honest, most people showing off these cars don't, he puts down $10,000 and finances the remaining $48,000 over 6 years. By the end of those 72 months, Michael won't have paid back just $48,000. With American auto loan interest rates hovering much higher than they used to, he'll end up paying closer to $68,000 for the financed portion alone. He basically bought one SUV for himself and another half SUV for the bank. And the interest is only the beginning. There's an entire ecosystem of invisible expenses feeding on Michael's ego. Full coverage insurance for a new SUV costs hundreds every month. Registration fees and property taxes hit every year. Then come the dealership service appointments, those polished waiting rooms with leather chairs, giant TVs, and free cappuccinos designed to distract you while someone charges $400 for recommended maintenance. Meanwhile, every scratch creates stress. Every parking lot becomes a battlefield. Every strange noise feels like a financial emergency. Henry David Thoreau once wrote that the price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it. Now translate Michael's SUV into the only currency that truly matters, his life energy. If Michael earns $35 per hour after taxes, he's sacrificing well over 80 hours every single month just to sustain that vehicle. He wakes up early, sits in traffic, survives pointless meetings, tolerates workplace politics, and absorbs stress week after week simply to make payments on an object that sits parked 95% of the day. His SUV doesn't just cost money. It costs freedom. It costs peace. It costs the ability to walk away from a toxic boss. Now compare Michael to Daniel. Daniel drives a 2014 Toyota Camry with 140,000 miles on it, while the luxury SUV owner at the traffic light is secretly panicking because the car payment is due tomorrow and the checking account is nearly empty. Daniel is calmly listening to music without a care in the world. Daniel understands what Morgan Housel teaches in The Psychology of Money. Wealth is what you don't see. It's the car you chose not to buy. It's the payment you refused to take on. It's the debt you avoided. While the dealership charges premium prices, Daniel takes his car to a trusted local mechanic who fixes problems honestly, without turning every oil change into a financial ambush. Because Daniel avoided the debt trap, he keeps an extra $900 to $1,200 every month for himself, instead of handing it to a bank. That financial breathing room gives him options. He can invest. He can start a business. He can survive layoffs without panic. He can actually sleep at night. That is real luxury. The middle class often stays financially stuck because it participates in what could be called the car payment relay race. Look at Jason. He finally finishes paying off his car. For the first time in years, his monthly budget has room to breathe. But then something dangerous happens. His ego starts itching. He sees a commercial for a newer model with giant touchscreen displays, ambient lighting, and features he absolutely does not need. Suddenly, his perfectly reliable, paid-off car feels old. So Jason heads to the dealership. His current vehicle is worth maybe $18,000 on the private market, but the dealership points out tiny cosmetic flaws and offers him only $13,000 as trade-in value. Hypnotized by the smell of new leather and fresh plastic, Jason accepts the loss, wipes out years of progress, and finances another $40,000 loan. He just pressed the reset button on his financial life for the sake of social validation and Instagram photos. As Dave Ramsey says, people buy things they don't need with money they don't have to impress people they don't even like. Now imagine if Jason had invested that $750 monthly payment into an index fund for those same 6 years, instead of restarting another loan cycle. With compound growth, he could easily be sitting on tens of thousands of dollars in investments instead of another depreciating machine. That's the difference between financial slavery and financial freedom. The uncomfortable truth is that America is filled with poor people driving rich cars, people driving $70,000 trucks while carrying credit card debt, people leasing luxury cars while having almost nothing saved for retirement. People financing rims, gadgets, and upgrades while panicking over unexpected medical bills or a broken refrigerator. They traded peace for silent approval from strangers. Building real wealth requires the courage to ignore social pressure. It requires the mindset of people like Warren Buffett, who has famously driven modest cars for years despite being one of the richest men on earth. Or Sam Walton, who drove an old pickup truck even as a billionaire. When asked why he didn't buy a Rolls-Royce, he reportedly joked, "Where am I going to put my dogs?" They understood something the middle class still struggles to learn. Your value as a human being is not determined by the machine parked in your driveway. Driving an older car is not failure. Sometimes it's one of the smartest financial decisions a person can make. It's a declaration of independence from consumer culture. It's proof that you value freedom more than appearances. It's the foundation of a life built on stability instead of image. Because when life gets hard, when layoffs happen, recessions hit, emergencies appear, or opportunities suddenly arrive, nobody cares what you drive. What matters is whether you have cash, flexibility, and peace of mind. So before signing your next auto loan, ask yourself the only question that truly matters. Are you driving your life, or are your debts driving you? Choose freedom. Subscribe to Money Mindset and continue breaking free from the consumerist matrix. I'll see you in the next video.